Let me tell you something that might challenge what you've always believed. A woman can genuinely love a man and still take him for granted. Not because she's heartless or cruel, but because she doesn't realize what she has until it's no longer right in front of her. It's one of those truths that quietly unfolds when the calls stop coming, when the messages fade, and when the man who once tried so hard finally decides to let go. That's when the silence grows heavy. That's when she starts missing the man she thought she could live without. Here's the thing most people don't say out loud. Women aren't scheming manipulators who set out to play games. We're emotional creatures. We chase connection, but we also test its strength. We want reassurance, but we push limits. And sometimes, in that constant testing, we misread consistency as weakness and patience as lack of confidence. We mistake kindness for predictability. And without meaning to, we start assuming that the man who always shows up always will. But when that man begins to pull back, when his attention no longer revolves around us, something shifts deep within. It's not just the absence of his presence, it's the emptiness that fills the space he used to occupy. That's the exact moment missing begins. And it's not about what he's doing now, it's about how his absence feels. This isn't about blaming women. It's about understanding the psychology behind what happens when a good man finally stops chasing. There's a quiet series of moments that unfold when a woman starts realizing she may have lost something real. The first sign? It hits when he stops reaching out. It's not during the arguments, not during the cold shoulder, not even when she says she needs space. It happens when his name no longer lights up her screen. When the good morning texts disappear. When the small check-ins vanish, the same ones she once brushed off as clingy or unnecessary. That's when the silence becomes unbearable, not because of the quiet around her, but because of the quiet within her. You see, women are used to being pursued. It's built into the rhythm of our emotional world. We expect consistency, effort, and reassurance. And when we get used to that, we start to take it as the norm. We feel powerful in it. But when that pattern breaks, confusion sets in. Suddenly, we're checking the phone more often, wondering why he hasn't texted, replaying moments in our head. The shift in his energy doesn't go unnoticed. It rattles the ego. And it doesn't take long. Just a few days of distance can make even the most confident woman question everything. Did he lose interest? Did he meet someone new? Did I push too far? The truth is, when a man walks away instead of proving his devotion one more time, it stings not because he's gone, but because deep down, she expected him to stay. That's when she starts realizing how much of her stability came from his presence, his voice, his reassurance, his quiet understanding. All the things she once overlooked suddenly become the things she misses most. And the hardest part? She can't just rewind the story. Because the man who once chased her has changed, he's detached, self-assured, and no longer begging to be seen. And that shift flips everything. Then comes the second stage, when memories of what she didn't value start replaying like a film she can't turn off. We don't miss the grand gestures. We miss the subtle moments, the simple, take care of yourself text, the way he noticed when we were off, how he remembered things we said weeks ago, the comfort of knowing someone truly saw us. But back then, we mistook it for routine. We thought his patience was just part of who he was: reliable, predictable, safe. We didn't realize it was rare. When he's gone, those little moments echo like ghosts. We start comparing. Every new person feels dull, disconnected, shallow. The patience, the effort, the empathy, it's missing. And that's when regret begins to creep in. Because we start realizing we didn't just lose someone who cared, we lost someone who understood us without needing words. Someone emotionally grounded, steady, and real. It hits in the quiet moments, when she's scrolling late at night, when a song comes on, when someone new doesn't quite measure up. The realization burns slowly. She lost something not everyone finds twice. And here's the irony. When a woman starts missing that kind of man, she rarely shows it. Instead, she plays it cool. She posts like she's fine, tells her friends she's moved on, maybe even entertains someone new, not out of love, but out of pride. She doesn't want him to know that she's thinking about him, that she's replaying old conversations, wondering how she let it fall apart. But underneath the surface, her mind is loud. She's analyzing every interaction, asking herself if she was too cold, too distant, too ungrateful. And somewhere deep inside, she knows the truth she won't admit, that she lost a man who wasn't ordinary. The posts, the smiles, the pretending, they're all shields. Because what she really wants is what she pushed away: the peace, the emotional safety, the connection that felt effortless. She'll hide it, but it'll show in the way she lingers on old photos or how she reacts when his name comes up. The world may not see it, but she feels it. And by the time that realization sinks in fully, it's too late. He's no longer waiting. He's evolved. His silence now carries strength instead of longing. And that's when it hurts her the most, not that he left, but that he finally learned how to live without her. So, if you're that man who's been taken for granted, understand this. Your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. And if she ever starts missing you, it won't just be you she misses. It'll be the way she felt when she was with you, seen, valued, grounded, and loved. That's the quiet revenge of peace. The lesson most only learn when it's too late. The reflective psyche, that's part of how women cope with regret. We compartmentalize. We bury it beneath distractions, social validation, and short-lived attention, hoping the noise outside will quiet the ache inside. But the truth is, when a woman forms a deep emotional bond with a man and loses it, that connection doesn't simply dissolve. It lingers. It echoes. It becomes a shadow that follows her into new experiences, reminding her of what she once had and didn't value. We'll see you moving on, improving yourself, growing, living the kind of life we once imagined together. And that realization cuts deep. Because now, the man we once doubted is becoming the man we always wanted. Only now, he's doing it without us. And that's when it sinks in, it was never that you weren't enough. It's that we didn't recognize your worth soon enough. But even in that awareness, most women won't come running back. Not right away. Pride has a way of delaying honesty. We wait. We linger in hesitation, secretly hoping you'll reach out, that you'll show you still care, that you'll still wonder about us. But when you don't, when your silence stays steady, panic begins to set in. Questions start echoing in our minds. Was I too cold? Did I make him feel unappreciated? Did I push him too far? And that uncertainty eats at us. Because women hate not knowing where they stand, especially with a man we thought we had figured out. We always assume we'll have more time, that you'll still be there when we're ready, that we can pull away and you'll pull closer, that we can test your patience and you'll keep proving yourself. But when you don't, when you finally stop calling, stop caring, stop chasing, that's when everything inside us begins to unravel. On the outside, we'll act unbothered. But make no mistake, the silence you leave behind is deafening. It forces us to sit with the things we avoided, the ways we disrespected your efforts, the times we brushed off your care, the moments we made you feel unseen. And the longer you remain silent, the more it dawns on us you might really be done this time. That's when missing you turns into regret. And regret becomes something heavier, a wake-up call. Not every woman reaches that level of self-awareness, but the ones who do, they feel it deeply. Especially when they realize that the man they took for granted wasn't ordinary. He was the one who actually meant it. Then comes the war within, the ego versus emotion. And trust me, it's brutal. When we start missing a man we once overlooked, it doesn't come softly. It's a storm inside. One part of us screams, "You messed up. You lost a good man." The other whispers, "Don't show it. Stay strong. He should have tried harder." That's the ego fighting to keep its grip, trying to protect us from vulnerability. It tells us not to reach out, not to apologize, not to admit fault, because admitting we were wrong feels like surrendering power. But here's the truth: emotion always wins eventually. You can't outrun genuine feelings forever. And so, the missing hits us in waves. Sometimes late at night when we can't sleep. Sometimes when we hear a song that once played in your car. Sometimes when we laugh with someone new but feel nothing. That's when it hits. The irreplaceability of your energy, your calm, your depth. Slowly, the emotional part of us starts breaking through the pride. We begin to admit things quietly to ourselves. I expected him to always understand. I wanted him to chase me, not realizing he was already tired. I acted strong, but I just wanted to feel safe. Those realizations come too late, but they come. And when they do, the ego starts to crumble. But here's what most men don't see: we don't always show that emotional collapse. We hide it behind posts, smiles, and distractions. You might think we've moved on, but inside, we're wrestling with guilt, longing, and the need for closure. Sometimes we'll test the waters, watch your stories, like an old picture, or send a simple, "Hey, hope you're doing okay," text that says everything we're too afraid to admit. It's rarely about starting over. It's about reassurance. We just want to know the door isn't completely closed. But if we sense that it is, that you've truly detached and evolved, that your energy is calm and self-contained now, that's when the emotion finally overpowers the ego. And what once felt like missing you transforms into a deeper, heavier feeling, regret with no return. No woman wants to sit in that. It's painful, it's humbling, and it forces us to face the truth. We lost something real. Then comes the hardest stage, when we see you glowing without us. You want to know when the missing really begins to hurt? It's not right after the breakup. It's not even during the quiet weeks that follow. It's when we see you thriving, when you're no longer defined by the past, when you're out there living, smiling, creating, evolving, not to prove anything, but because you've found peace. That's the moment it hits hardest. Because we expected your pain to mirror ours. We thought you'd stay stuck in the same emotional loop, waiting for us to come back. But when we see you rising instead, lighter, happier, more focused, that's when the regret burns. Because suddenly, we realize we no longer have that influence over you. Women always notice when a man shifts his energy from chasing to becoming. It's magnetic. It's powerful. And it changes everything. Suddenly, we're not evaluating you anymore. We feel like we're the ones being evaluated. And the worst part? We can feel that your peace isn't for show. It's real. You've evolved past the version of yourself that needed us, and that truth hurts more than any argument ever could. Because when you glow without us, it becomes clear you are never the problem. We were. And that's the realization that doesn't fade quietly. It lingers. It humbles. It reminds us that love isn't something to test. It's something to value before it's gone. Your consistency, your softness, your strength, all the things we overlooked while they were right in front of us. And now we're watching another version of you, the healed, grounded, evolving version that we no longer have access to. And it stings. Not the kind of ache you can distract yourself from. It's the kind that sits deep in the gut. The kind that wakes you up at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how you could have let someone like that slip away. That's when the real missing begins, not the nostalgic kind, but the kind that feels like loss. Because it's no longer about what you did wrong. It's about what we didn't see right. 6. When you stay silent, it forces us to feel everything. You probably don't hear this from women often, but silence from a man who once cared is powerful. It's not just no contact. It's clarity disguised as quiet. When you finally go still, no messages, no updates, no emotional reactions, it creates a vacuum. And in that silence, we're left alone with our thoughts, our guilt, and the echoes of what we took for granted. See, when a woman takes a good man for granted, it's rarely out of malice. It's usually because she believes he'll always be there. She sees his kindness as security, his patience as permanence. But when that same man goes quiet, when he stops checking in, stops chasing, stops trying, it sends a message louder than words ever could. Because that silence becomes a mirror. And what we see reflected isn't always pretty. Without your presence, we start to hear our own inner voice, and it's filled with questions we'd rather not answer. Did I push him too far? Why hasn't he called? Was he really over me this whole time? Is he gone for good? Those thoughts multiply quickly. And before long, your silence stops feeling like space and starts feeling like rejection. Even if we were the ones who walked away, your distance still hurts. Because we expect the man who cared to fight for us to prove he still wants us. But when you don't, when your quiet becomes consistency, it unsettles us. It makes us face something most women never prepare for, the reality that you may have truly moved on. And when that realization sets in, it doesn't make us feel strong. It makes us feel replaced. It makes us question our influence, our value, our control. We start checking your socials, asking mutual friends, scrolling through your name like it holds the answer. And if we find nothing, no signs, no clues, no longing posts, it hits harder than any argument ever could. Because now the silence isn't empty. It's final. Every woman who's taken a man for granted carries one hidden fear, that he'll finally see his worth without her validation. And when that happens, when you stop needing us to see you, it's both magnetic and devastating. Because that's when we realize we're no longer the emotional center of your world. So, if you're in that silent phase now, wondering if she's thinking about you, yes, she probably is. But more than that, she's feeling you. She's sitting in the discomfort of her own thoughts, realizing that your calm detachment speaks volumes. Don't break that silence just because it feels awkward or empty. You have no idea how powerful it truly is, how much reflection it creates in her absence of you. 7. If you let her treat you like you're replaceable, she will. Let me be honest here, because sometimes men need to hear it straight from a woman's perspective. If you keep showing up for someone who doesn't meet you halfway, you're teaching her that your energy is infinite, that your loyalty can be stretched without limits. And once she believes that, she'll start acting like it. Not because she's cruel, but because that's how human nature works. We stop valuing what feels guaranteed. If you're always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, even when we cross your boundaries, we stop feeling your value. And instead, we start sensing your fear of losing us. That energy reads as desperation, and no woman, no matter how kind or loving, is drawn to desperation. We're drawn to confidence, to balance, to a man who has enough self-respect to walk away from what doesn't value him. Because here's the unspoken truth. Women don't respect what we can control. When we know exactly how far we can push, when we know you'll always come back, we lose that quiet tension that keeps desire alive. You become emotionally predictable, and that's when we start to drift. But the beauty of it is, you can change that dynamic at any time. Not by playing games or pretending to be detached, but by genuinely reclaiming your energy. By recognizing that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. When you start prioritizing yourself, when you redirect your focus inward instead of chasing validation outward, everything shifts. And believe me, women feel that shift instantly. We notice when a man starts operating from self-worth instead of need. We sense when his silence comes from peace, not punishment. When he's no longer chasing, but choosing his time, his focus, his energy. That's when attraction flips. That's when the same woman who once took him for granted starts wondering if she ever really knew him at all. So, if you've ever found yourself giving everything to a woman who made you feel like an option, stop blaming her. Start asking yourself why you thought you had to prove your worth in the first place. That's the wound that needs healing, not her indifference. Because the moment you understand that you set the tone for how others treat you, everything changes. A woman can't take a man for granted who refuses to hand her the chance. Here's the truth we rarely admit: we don't miss the man who is nice. We miss the man who made us feel something real, something rare. It's not about perfection or status. It's about presence. It's about how you carried yourself, how you showed up, and how your energy lingered even after you left. When a man stops trying to prove his worth and simply lives like he knows it, it hits different. It's quiet, it's powerful, and it's unforgettable. That's the man we remember. That's the man we regret losing. And that's the man who no longer needs our validation because he's already found it within himself. The reflective psyche.